Good to be in the building.
Good to be in the building. Glad to be, well, I guess virtually. Yeah, so here we are again. It is Tuesday. See
It
people
is,
coming
it
in,
is,
checking in
it
with
is.
us.
What
Good
is
to see
going
you.
on?
Good
Where
to
y'all
see you.
coming in from? We are here in Northern New Jersey. Let us know. Drop it in the comments. Happy to be here with you. For sure, for sure. Every Tuesday we're coming in live. Usually around this time, between 12:30 EST. That's our sweet spot right before we feed our faces. So we don't stay on too long because we're gonna go feed our faces. We're all about that food. Food, good fuel. Before we dive in, so I think we should let you know what we're going to be diving in today, though, with and about.
Let's do that.
We saw some questions come through our Facebook group, and we wanted to address those because we just have a pretty strong feeling that it's likely more than just a few folks asking this type of question. And it's around structuring the day as married entrepreneurs. And just in case, if you don't know who we are, let's do that first. Okay?
What's up? I'm OL Buckley.
And I'm Sway Buckley.
That's right, with Marriedpreneur Life Strategists.
Yes, and we help married entrepreneurs launch, grow, and scale their businesses, and doing so to do that purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync. So we cover all things marriage, marketplace, and ministry for those faith-based married entrepreneurs.
That's right.
So that's that in a nutshell. We are strategists and, creating systems, helping others, marriedpreneurs implement high-level systems as well is our sweet spot. And speaking of systems, that's one of the things that we're going to be diving in today. We're talking about structure because some folks have been asking us about structure over in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
Structuring the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually one question is representative of others who will share that same question.
Mm-hmm.
So structure is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so with those questions, we can safely say that will represent others who have questions around structuring their day as well.
True. So this is what we decided to do, just to dive on into this, go over, and let me make sure I say it absolutely right because we want to make sure we get the message across clearly. We're going to be going over 8 highly productive ways to structure your day for increase as marriedpreneurs. So 8 highly productive ways to structure your day for increase. Before we do that, I would like to say, for those of you who may not have known this, so earlier this year, we did the Hard 75 Challenge, and we finished it. The challenge, 75 days.
And we finished well, and we finished strong.
We finished well, and we finished that part. Come on.
Yes.
We finished well, and we finished strong, and we kept going. We're in July right now.
So you would have thought after the 75 that we would be like, all right, we crossed the finish line, done.
Yeah, but not us.
So.
But just in case you don't even know what that is, the 75 Hard Challenge is 75 days straight, drinking a gallon of water, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them needs to be outside, but any one of your choice.
Reading 10 pages
in a book.
Sticking to a regimented
plan.
diet.
Yeah, I mean, we were already pretty focused in that area. And is that everything? Oh, we're supposed to take a progress pic each day too. So if we skip a day, then you start all over. I say all that to say that we made it out alive. We didn't die. And we're here to tell about it. And we're still going. July.
Yes.
We've been running a couple of miles each morning. And for us, that's a lot. And I wanted to say that because we hardly ever get a chance to take little screenshots or pictures because we're running. And I always forget before we get back in the house to do that. So I was like, let me make sure we say that. So
yeah, it's funny because it took for those who, didn't run with that certain level of routine and that level of and to that extent, it took a lot of discipline just to get started. And it's funny because now the discipline, I don't even really think about it as much.
Yeah.
It's more of a habit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really beautiful thing that's happened since we started.
Yes, and it definitely ties into what we're talking about today. We didn't plan for all that, but I wanted to say that. And so let's dive into this 8 highly productive ways to structure your day for increase as marriedpreneurs. Also, if you're looking for a system or a way to start doing this, maybe you were emerging marriedpreneurs, or maybe you're established and you're trying to get on track or get back on track. We do have a free systems download to help married entrepreneurs to build their businesses purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync. And so if you want that free download, I want to make sure I say this at the beginning. Go ahead and drop systems in the comments, and we'll make sure we get that over to you totally free. Our gift to you into your DMs. We'll send it over to you. there's that. With that being said, let's go deeper into this 8 highly productive ways to structure your day for increase as marriedpreneurs.
Let's get into it. All right. So number 1 is
in no particular order.
Okay, all right, no particular order. I do think though that this does fall earlier though.
Yes,
much
you're right.
much earlier.
Absolutely.
In structuring your day for increase, and so that would be to recognize that a structured day for increase begins the night before.
Oh Lord.
And the reason why that is because when we wake up, when we get up and say, all right, today I'm going to be structured, that's kind of doing it behind the 8 ball.
This is true.
Because it's always better to know what you're going to do the day of before the day comes.
This is true. Yeah. So I'm closing those open loops, we like to call them, in our brains as we're laying down, and all the thoughts and all the, like, making sure that we're I like to do a brain dump and writing it down. For me anyway. Some of you may want to do audio and record yourself, whatever that may be, to prepare you for the next day. So when you're there, you already have some kind of framework ready to get into it. Now let's go into the next one. I wrote this down. This is something that we do each day. Call your shot. Call your shot, meaning define your wins for the day. And we like to define our wins for the day in our daily legacy meeting. And that's another, I would say that would be like a part B of the 2 part of number 2. But, making sure that you're calling your shot is clarifying where you're focusing on the day, for that day. What we like to do is 3. Just 3, not 10, not 20, not 3,000. Although we could do that, we have enough on our plates to do that. But just what are those top 3 and really prioritizing it?
Yeah, that's important. So number 3 is confirm your closing time.
This is spicy.
Now, listen, marriedpreneurs, if we all excited about building the business and all that comes with that, if we don't determine our closing time, meaning when we're going to stop, trust and believe.
Trust and believe. You
will carry that work, especially if your spouse doesn't say anything, though they may have feelings about it, or even if your family, whatever. We're going to carry that stuff deep off into the evening, and that's how we end up working all morning, all night, around the clock, so on and so forth. So we want to define our closing times to say, hey, business, you're not in control of me, I'm controlling you.
This is true. You're not running me, I'm running you. You're not the boss of me, I'm the boss of you. But for real though, I think it's really important to do this on a day-to-day basis, because it changes. But then it also gives you some level of expectation, and those, your spouse, a level of expectation as well. And I know that's so like contrary to what the culture says, like you just keep working until you fall out. But really, at the end of the day, all that does is lead you to burnout. And so, it's like, what are you valuing? Are you valuing the lifestyle that you're desiring to build and to live out, the thing that you've been praying for? Or are you valuing just like working until you literally fall out? And we've been there before that, there as well too. And that way is not the better way. So really being clear about confirming those closing times. And there are many times we'll come to each other and we're like, you know what, I'm gonna need a little more time. And it just helps us really sink in on prioritizing what's most important today, because most things can wait until the next day anyway. And so just understanding that level of discipline to focus in on the things that are right in front of you. And this right here should be at the top of the list too, number 4.
Yeah, number 4, and that is meditating on the word.
Of God.
Of God, yes. So meditating on the word, I mean, it should go without saying all of its many benefits, but let me say this one that is often overlooked. And that is because meditating on the word actually will stimulate you to prayer. And this is a great way to calibrate your soul's response to the unknowns of the day. And it's really the unknown stuff that happens throughout the day as married entrepreneurs that can throw us off kilter.
Listen.
And so really meditating on the word really helps to calibrate and really helps us to get in front of having a healthy, right response to the many unknowns of the day for marriedpreneurs.
That right there sums it up. And doing it, especially when we feel that pressure, we feel that intensity hitting us, like trying to overtake us for the day, just meditating on if there's a certain scripture, a prayer, just making sure that we are really keeping things in perspective. Oh my goodness, game changer. And it is not the easiest thing. Probably one of the harder things, I would say. But I think it gets easier as we grow spiritually and get more focused. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 5, move your body. So regardless of what it is that you like to do or not do, as far as when it comes to moving your body to exercise, I think the point of the matter is that you just do it, right? Moving it on a daily basis is real. That's for real. When we talk about helping you be more productive and structuring your day for increase, you know what happens when we move our body? So the blood flow increases, which means we increase in creativity, right? And like how we're thinking. You about to say something?
No, I was going to say, it stimulates endorphins and those things that really go on within the human body that are great and wonderful when it's time to create, even when it's time to troubleshoot and problem solve.
That part.
Because when you have that going for you in your body, then your ability to really think through complexities, to respond, and if you notice, creativity usually goes up when pleasure goes up. And so when we're having those endorphins go off, then that whole creativity, really being able to think through things, is just so much more easier.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're overwhelmed because you get so accustomed to being overwhelmed. Like it becomes a norm. And so being able to actually stop and say, you know what, let me go, whatever that level of, movement that you're doing for that day, but it really gives you an out. Gives you a mental out for clarity and energy, because we gonna need the energy, especially if you're a couple or a spouse who's working a 9 to 5 and you're in the process of that in between space when you're transitioning, or maybe like you're doing a 9 to 5 and so you're giving really the most of your days, the best of your day to this job, right, that you have at this time. But then at the same time, you want to have energy and focus for what you are building at the same time. So this is a great way to do that. And it sounds like it, just listening to it may sound like that doesn't make any sense because that's going to take energy and time to do it. But really, you are multiplying it and you're creating more energy and releasing a lot of things that may have weighed you down earlier today and shifting your mindset. So that's necessary. Number 6,
RGA. This is all about revenue generating activities. Revenue generating activities. Now, I got to say this because, I used to be a person who didn't do revenue generating activities and but in my mind, I somehow thought that I was doing revenue generating activities. And that's where we can confuse a lot of activity with actual results. And that's not to say that in business there aren't many other things that have to be done. But that is to say we need to be able to identify which of those things are actually connected to generating revenue and which are not.
Because you can easily focus on the non-revenue generating activities, the bulk of your day, the bulk of the week, and then look up and be like, wait, I've been working in my business, I've been doing all this, but then where are the clients, right? But then where is the increase? And then where is the revenue? Like, that's the question. So really making sure you're clear on the revenue generating activities that are required to grow and scale your business, being clear on that, and then implementing that into, we like to say, when we mentioned earlier, I'm talking about your calling your shot and mentioning your 3 wins for the day and in your legacy meeting. That's a great time to say, like, one of those top 3 should be revenue generating, especially if you are in a place in your business where you're designed to increase in revenue. Like, it just makes sense. But sometimes we overlook that for all the other things that we feel like have to be, maybe more important than that. So I want to make sure we get that in there. Okay. That's number 6. Number 7, this could be like a close 6B right after revenue generating activities.
Number 7 is clarifying your honorable mentions. And we could even say prioritizing these honorable mentions. And these honorable mentions are things that they don't fit. They're not part of our top 3, things that we're going to do.
They didn't make the cut.
They didn't make that. But that's not to say that they aren't things that don't need to be addressed, because they do. It just means that they are further down on the priority list. And oftentimes we may have a situation with those core items that we said that we're going to do today as we defined our wins, but we may either finish those early, or maybe they may be momentarily paused because we're
waiting for
something
somebody
else
to get
or waiting
back.
for somebody else to get back. Maybe our part is connected to another person's part. And if our part is done, but that other department's part is not done, so we're waiting, which then can free up margin for us to look at those other honorable mentions. Or we may even complete those other items earlier and have more at the end of the day to pick up some of those honorable mentions. So they're good to have, they're good to know, but it's also good to prioritize and clarify what those are.
Yes, listen, y'all, this is a big thing, like on a daily, because if we constantly like put everything on the same level of importance, then nothing at all is important. And so being able to really have the discipline to and discernment to see like what needs to be done for real, like right in front of me right now, first and foremost, and then everything else following up as honorable mentions. Now, with that being said, let's write it on over to the last one, number 8. Number 8 for highly productive ways to structure your day for increase as marriedpreneurs. Now, this is critical because we can easily get, if we skip this step, we find ourselves in burnout and not really having what we need to do what we're called to do. And this is to know what you need, like you need personally to get in the optimal state, like your mental state, your emotional state. What do you need in order to produce at the highest level? What's required for you, which may be different from what's required for your spouse. And so understanding what you need to perform at the optimal level based on the situation, the circumstances is necessary. So that may mean, what environment do you need to be in, right? What kind of fuel do you need? Meaning food. What do you need to be munching on or not? Like, what do you need to be at your best? What do you need to be wearing? Like, it just need to be super comfortable, or do you need to be like in something that speaks something different to you? Like, what do you need? That's the question, and clarifying that.
Yeah, it can be something as simple as the chair you're sitting in.
Oh.
What kind of chair will help you to perform and do whatever said task that you're about to do? Do you need a chair that's upright? Would it be better for you to be in a situation where you're standing? Is your desk that you normally work at too small in regards to area space? Do you need to take what you're about to do over to a larger table? What about your lighting? If you find yourself that your chair is uncomfortable, your eyes are straining, and you feel claustrophobic in the space that you're working in, you want to look at that environment. I only mention those as a few items relative to environment because those are things that we often give very little to no thought to, but they're taking a toll on us physically, which is ultimately impacting how we work.
That's real. That's real. And that's the part, like when you get to the working part, I would even say, what do you need before you even get there to transition your state of mind to do the work? Now, especially if you're working in a 9-to-5 right now, especially if you're working in a 9-to-5, even if you're working in that 9-to-5 from home, you need to have some type of state of transition to transition your mindset to say, okay, this is what I'm focusing on now. Like, you close down the other tabs, you X them out, you close them down, they're done for today, so you can free up that RAM, that mental space to focus on what you're called to do right now. And that is a type of discipline. And oftentimes that means leaving the space you're in, the environment you're in, even if you have to come back to it, but leaving it for a moment and maybe going outside, maybe going to another room, maybe going to get some water, maybe doing something else, and then coming back so your mindset has shifted. You've closed it down. It's a process, because if you try to just jump, as you say, switching lanes, jumping from one lane to the next without properly closing down the previous lane, you're still holding that. You're still holding that in your mind as you're trying to work on the new side. And you're like, how come I can't just focus over here?
It's like having 40 search tabs open on your desktop.
Goodness. Why do you say 40? That's like a lot.
Because then what happens is you don't realize that by having all those even open like that you're actually slowing down the performance of your computer.
That's real.
And that happens to us mentally. So
and you know what? Something we were talking to your dad about this the other day. He's a guru in television production, and he saw your
desktop.
Your desktop. And it was so interesting. I was like, that's so good. He was like, oh, you have a lot of files, just files on your desktop. Individual. He's like, that slows your system down. But if you were to put them in those files in a folder, it automatically consolidates and frees up the space in your system just because they were sitting there. They were just sitting there. Likewise for our brain, likewise for our mindset, as we shift over in our energy, we have things just sitting open, unattended, and we haven't closed it down. We haven't put it in a folder and shut it down, shut the tab down. So we have the extra space to do what we're called to do, to focus in on what we're called to focus on. So we're not wondering like, how come I can't get nothing? How come it feel like I'm just going in cycles? How come I keep starting and stopping? What is really going on? Well, this is just a practical thing, but it really requires a spiritual thing, which is a discipline to do it, the discipline to do it, and to be consistent in it. So it's not a one-day thing. It really is a lifestyle. And so we want to just encourage you all on that. We hope this was helpful for you. These 8 highly productive ways to structure your day for increase as marriedpreneurs. If you're just now joining us, I'm glad you were here. We'll make sure the replay goes up for this. And as we mentioned earlier, if you are seeking ways to build out your systems with you and your spouses as marriedpreneurs, to do it purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync, you can grab our free systems download for married entrepreneurs to help you get started in doing just that. That is our focus, and that is our purpose and our goal in this season, and we are committed to doing that. So we hope this was helpful for you all, and we look forward to chatting with you next, was it Tuesday?
Yes.
With some more juice for your week. All right, y'all, until next time.
Keep living
purposefully,
powerfully,
and profitably
in
sync. Oh, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. All right, y'all have a good one.